All right, so we're here, I'm parked at a local park, and we're just going to take a look at the Tesla holiday update here. It's been kind of a controversial update compared to most of the other ones that Tesla's had, and there's some good, some bad, and in my opinion, some ugly. Nothing that's a deal breaker or anything like that. I still love the car, still love the update overall, but there's a couple things here that we're going to take a look at. So let's begin with the big visual changes. This whole area here is just very different than what it was before. This vertical line here that kind of separates what you can see with the car versus what you see as the map and any other stuff, it's different. It's way smaller as far as the map goes now. So this is a lot more crunchy. It used to be more kind of over in this area. Let me throw my seatbelt on real fast so we get rid of that warning message and we can take a look at some of the other stuff here. All right, so when we go up and take a look, this whole area up here is a little different. And when we get driving here in just a little bit, we'll take a look at some of the other visual changes. But first off, you notice that the battery is gray. I absolutely hate that. I like my green battery. It just is familiar from pretty much everything else. So I don't like that. The weather symbol is in color, which is kind of weird that they throw in mixes and matches of color in random things. Our drive area here, it's different than what it used to be, along with this. This used to be a little farther down and centered up, not kind of squashed up there a little more. But this basically gives you your efficiency. So if you are gaining battery, you're going to be on this end, and if you're using up battery, you're going to be on the right end of these things. And these little dashes, because it's cold out, I can't use the full capacity of regen braking right now. It's just not a possibility until the battery gets fully warmed up. And when we take a look at the visualizations of the car, there's nothing really different in that respect. They're the same thing. The only difference here is that when I start rolling down the window, you can see that it actually does roll down. If I open up my door, it will show it opening. So nothing super different there, but when we go to this is now a different visualization. When you're in park, the front open for the trunk, the frunk, the battery, all that stuff is different. And whatever you do with the car is reflected. So if I turn the wheel, it gets reflected there, which is pretty cool. I'm going to close it back up. It's going to stay in park here for a sec, but we usually have some visualizations down here. They moved a lot of that stuff down here. So I can look at my camera and see if it's back or not. I can just look at the backup or look at the backup and the side cameras if I want to. Windshield wipers are no longer in a swipe option, which was super annoying. I can click on the windshield wipers themselves, set them to auto, turn them on or off, whatever I need to do there, and I can just get rid of them. If I swipe over to the right here, I get my tire pressure, which on a cold day, sitting at 41 when I've been parked and I've driven almost nowhere today, is where I want it to be. And then the default is nothing, and if I go over to the right, you can see what you've done since the last thing. So I've been sitting here parked for a little while with the heat on, so I'm using a lot of battery just doing that. But if we go through since last charge, my last trip, you can see the overall efficiency of the battery. And since I've gotten this thing in June, I think it was the 22nd of June, I've put 5,200 miles or so on it, and my average trip is 220 watt hours per mile, which is pretty good, I think. Other than the visual things here, the bar here used to be a darker gray. It's now just a kind of fits in with all this. So the minimal style is even going more into a little bit greater of an extent here. I have my seat heaters, all that. So there's a few more buttons on the bottom, mainly just these two, but everything else gets scrunched. So when I look at my music here, it's a little smaller than it used to be. I'm not super big fan of how small it is. I'd liked it going over to like right here. It's not that big of a deal. And we have a couple other things. The Tesla T that used to be up there no longer exists. So that's not part of this anymore. It just isn't what is done anymore. You have to go into your driver area and then go into software, and you'll be able to see any of the release notes here. Even how the release notes are displayed, when you click on release notes, it's different. So when I got in the car after the update, it was a very different experience than what it normally is. Usually it's just a little pop-up and you can scroll through. And this one, it gives you kind of the bullet points. So there's bullet points going up and down, and you can read through them. So it tells you about the release notes improvements. We have a new game, which actually is pretty fun. You have Cat Quest, which I'm not going to play because it requires a controller, which I don't have. Solitaire, which you can play when driving. I'm not going to do that, but it's possible. We have Boombox. Essentially what that does is the front pedestrian speaker. So as of 2019, roughly September of 2019, there's a federal law in the United States that says that any electric car needs to have a speaker at below a certain speed. I think it's 19 miles an hour, so that pedestrians can hear it coming. Otherwise, the cars are pretty much silent and you can get hit pretty easily if you're not paying attention. So now we can customize the sound that comes out. Cool. Not something I intend on really using, but it's there if I wanted to. We have our driving visualization improvements. So you can see here that we have our speed stuff, all that, which when we get driving here, you'll be able to see a little bit better. That's all different than what it was before. Again, it's bigger and there's not that much stuff otherwise. You have scheduled departure improvements. So it will actually allow you to optimize for your time of day stuff. So if you're in an area that does rate hikes, depending on the type of day, you can have a charge during the lowest points of the day to save yourself some money. It also allows you to precondition the battery so that if you need to get somewhere and have the battery ready to roll for either regen braking or to get to a supercharger, it will do that for you automatically, which is pretty awesome. We have emissions test improvements, which is the farting noise. Now you can not only fart in all the seats of the car, you can make the car fart outside. So killer update there. Our supercharger, I'm going to go to this in just a second, but basically the supercharger, they used to show like the little Tesla Model T with the lightning bolt thing and show you where the superchargers were, and you'd have to click on them to figure out how many stalls were available. Most superchargers near me have between 8 and 12 stalls options at any one time, and usually some of those are taken. But now it just shows a number, so you know exactly how many stalls are open when you want to get there, which is nice. And then we have some vehicle information one, which is what we're seeing now of where all this stuff has gone. So let's go through, we'll take a look at the superchargers. I'm going to zoom out big time here and find some superchargers in the area. So we can see the closest one to me, which I believe is in Frederick. That one has 7 stalls out of the 10 available. So that means 3 of them are being used up. We can look around, we can go all the way out to West Virginia. 7 are there, and we can continue to zoom out here, and you'll notice, let me spin this around so it's the right side up. We have a lot of chargers available, but only the ones that are bright red with numbers on them are available for us to reach within our range. So I'm at 77% battery right now, so I can get all the way out here to Altoona if I wanted to, according to the car, or I can go as far south as Richmond before needing a charge, and it looks like I can make it all the way to the beach without much of an issue there. So that's really the main improvements. We also do have a new Santa mode, so let me switch that on. I can go into Toy Box here. You can see that the boombox is new on there, so I can play sounds and do all kinds of stuff there. I don't have any of that stuff turned on right now because it's fun, but not something I would probably use. But the Santa mode is fun because I can spread cheer outside, it will play the song, or I can just click on that. And it plays this really loud, but it changes what the car looks like. And we'll go for a drive in a second. You'll see what it looks like as well there. All right, and that's pretty much it as far as the updates go. I apologize about the lighting here. The sun just happened to come out. I got ready to record here. But basically, there's a couple of small improvements and general things that are really good things. Like I like the numbers here on the supercharger panel. I like the new visualization of the car. It lets you see it in 3 dimensions as opposed to before. I dislike how wide this area is, and I dislike some of the color choices. I like this being a little darker. I like that being green. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this update. Having the backup camera and also the windshield wipers as buttons, digital buttons now, is awesome. And apparently this was really just version 1 of what this update's going to be. Software version 11 is coming out soon, which will be the full self-driving and all the other stuff, but I don't have access to. But we're supposed to be able to rearrange these icons and do a lot of things that people have been asking for a while now. All right, so let's go ahead and get on a drive and see some of these differences here as we get going. All right, so the first thing you're going to see here is the difference in where the kind of speed limit's at and also where the speed actually shows up at. It shows in the top left. It's not quite as large as it used to be, but it's still really easy to glance at while you're driving. I actually like this position as opposed to where it was before. Even though it's a little smaller, it's pushed just a little bit over more towards the corner, which does make it a little easier to see. Now, I'm not on a road that has a posted speed limit according to the car right now. And that guy just pulled out in front of me. Thanks. But we don't really have that available to us right now. So we can see that. I'm going to put on Santa mode here in just a second, and we'll see what all the cars look like when we do that. Ho, ho, ho. Now that we have Santa mode with the music turned off, I really wish you could disable that or turn the volume down. But you'll see any of the cars coming towards us or in front of us that the car sees, it turns them into reindeer, which is pretty fun. The visualization of it is a little better this year than what it's been in the past, in my opinion. And I really, really dig that the reindeer actually move in their feet. Over here, you'll see that we have the speed. We have the speed limit itself. We can see if self-driving is turned on or not, and then the speed limit. So I set everything to be 5 above, so when I turn on cruise control or the autopilot, it goes about 5 miles over, but that's just me. So we're gonna go ahead and put that on here. You'll see that it has us right now at 32 miles an hour with a max of 40. The speed limit is 40. It's gonna switch over to 30 here in just a second. And the car should pick that up here. It did, and now it's set it to be 5 over. We'll also see that we have the driving enabled because the blue lines here and our logo. So none of that stuff has really changed, and we look around, you can see the reindeer running in front of me, my car being pulled by the reindeer, and we're good to go. So that's all pretty similar to what we've had in the past. I'm gonna cancel out of this mode because I don't particularly like it. I find it rather annoying. And we'll go back to the traditional visualizations where not much has changed here, although you can see that it's freaking out. That car was not in front of us at all. It's just driving on there. So this is a pretty easy, nice little feature that we have here to get the update set. So I've driven probably about 100 miles or so since the update has come out. It's probably a little more than, probably like 50 miles. Visually, I'm pretty used to it now. It doesn't change anything. I know there's been a lot of complaints online, but that's, I've been pretty happy and pretty used to what it looks like, how it feels, all that stuff. It's not that big of a deal, and doesn't feel very un-Tesla-like or anything like that. It just feels a little bit more minimal and a little bit more refined in some ways and a step back in others. The number one complaint is that this whole screen now, almost half of it, it feels like at least a third of it or 2/5 of it are being used just for displaying what the car sees, where that's probably good for full self-driving. That's really not what I, as a driver who doesn't have full self-driving, need to see. I would much rather have a big map because that's what I need to see when I'm driving if I have my directions on. I want to see where I'm going or whatever's on there. But that's pretty much it for this update, and I hope you enjoyed it.